Which of the following best represents the vested interests made visible by the Earth Summit? This is a reference to the fourth paragraph. It is stated in the first statement. In that respect, the best that can be said for the Earth Summit is that it made visible the vested interests that stand in the way of the moral economies that local people are seeking to re-establish in the face of the day-to-day degradation of their rivers, lakes, streams, etc., which is then referred to as the commons. It is stated in the next statement, the next line that is, by contrast, figures in government, business, and international organizations whose livelihoods do not depend directly on what is around them tend to view environmental degradation and the protests it provokes as threats to their political interest. For them, the environment is not what is around their homes, but what is around their economies. So this talks about these resources, the commons, as something which these people or these groups, they consider to be an economic asset, which they want to keep on exploiting. That is the key aspect. Let's look at the options. The Northerners within UNCED who are accustomed to a monopoly on environmental resources. Now, we see that this is a reference to this particular example. It is mentioned here. Northern leaders within UNCED, for example, were preoccupied with how to keep a growing South from tapping resources and filling up waste sinks, which the North has grown accustomed to using. But this applies to an example. So this is not the primary aspect. The primary aspect, as we've seen, is given by these two lines. So this is irrelevant, not directly relevant, that is. A is incorrect. Option B states, the Southerners who are gradually encroaching on the Northerners' territory. Again, a reference from this same example, Southern leaders responding to prodding from Northern capital and hoping to benefit themselves as well, were equally preoccupied with extending the boundaries of their economies by bringing more land under the plow, logging more forests, diverting more water to industry, and so on. Yet again, the same aspect, this is from the example. This does not directly connect with the answer to the question. So B is out. Option C tells us, the political and commercial economic conglomerates for whom the environment is an economic asset to be capitalized. This is perfect. We see the references in two parts, the political and commercial economic conglomerates, which is figures in government, business, and international organizations, for whom the environment is an economic asset to be capitalized. For them, the environment is not what is around their homes, but what is around their economies. So to them, and the environment is not a real asset, rather it's an economic asset, not something which needs to be protected, rather something which can be utilized indefinitely, even exploited. So this is absolutely true. We can qualify C. Option D says, the environment as an economic reservoir with both northern and southern powers depleting. Now, this is somewhat close, but there are certain exaggerations. The first problem is the environment as an economic reservoir. Now, this talks about the economic aspect or the economic perspective that these people or these groups have towards the environment. So this is not necessarily talking about a reservoir. A reservoir is basically a hold of something which has a lot of, say, a benefit or an asset. That doesn't work here. The positive connotation almost makes this wrong. And then again, with both northern and southern powers, we still talk about northern and southern powers, northern leaders, southern leaders, etc. This is an aspect we have seen how in option A and B, this is not directly relevant to the question because this comes as part of the answer. Part of an example. The answer has to be much more directly connected, and we do have a better answer in option C. Then again, this says northern and southern powers depleting, but then no one's power is depleting. There is a tussle between them. There's a skirmish between them, a struggle between them for the hold of resources that northern leaders hold, which they take for granted, such as this one, resources and filling up waste sinks, which the North has grown accustomed to using, and the South actually trying to to invade these areas, hoping to benefit, southern leaders hoping to benefit themselves as well, were equally preoccupied with extending the boundaries of their economies by bringing more land under the plow, logging more forests, diverting more water, etc. So this is also incorrect. There's no mention of any powers depleting. It's just that these two are struggling for the common resources. So this is incorrect as well. So D is out. The correct answer is option C.